Good morning, everyone. I'm Chad Poulos, Executive Director of the Midway Chamber of Commerce, and thanks for joining us. This is part 4 of our 5-part series for Celebration of Nonprofits, which we do in partnership with Hamline University. I want to quickly thank our sponsors. Our title sponsor for the entire Celebration of Nonprofits is Episcopal Homes. Riverland Bank is another sponsor, and Mendoza Law Office is another sponsor. And I'm going to welcome Don Zagay from Mendoza to say a few words. Don.
Thanks, Chad. So Mendoza Law Office is a proud member of the Midway Chamber, and we're honored to be here today as one of the sponsors of the virtual celebration of nonprofits. We really see nonprofits as the backbone of our community, and we see that particularly in 2020, with hospitals, food banks, shelters, all the services that have been needed. And at Mendoza Law Office, we are proud to provide a full range of legal services to support our nonprofit community, our nonprofit organizations. We provide legal guidance for forming nonprofits, governance, regulation of charities. If you have concerns around compliance, lobbying, or advocacy, we can help with that. We also advise and work closely with our nonprofit executives, our board members, to start and grow organizations and programs. So if you have legal needs, you could call on us for those, and you can find us at mendozalawoffice.com. And I'll just share a quick slide, I think. Or maybe I won't. Chad's going to send out a slide with our information so we can kind of get on with things. And glad to be here today as a sponsor.
Thank you, Don. And Don is going to be a part of our panel for part 5, which will be on December 16th about fiscal sponsorships. And as I mentioned, we do this in partnership with Hamline University. Jeannie, would you like to say a quick welcome to?
I would. Thank you so much. For several years now, Hamline University has been working with the Midway Chamber on this event. And even though this year looks a little different, it's had advantages in other ways we couldn't imagine, I think. So welcome. I'm happy to see everyone this morning. I'm particularly excited to get to work with Dr. Michael Wirth-Davis from Goodwill Easter Seals. He just recently celebrated 30 years heading up that organization. And Michael and my paths have crossed actually for decades now on boards and in teaching. And little known fact, we share the same birthday. So in case I don't see you again, Michael, in January, happy birthday. He is an expert in nonprofit governance and strategic planning, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Great. Well, thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Hamline, for our partnership. And at this time, I am going to introduce Michael. Dr. Michael Wirth-Davis serves as president and CEO of Goodwill Easter Seals, Minnesota. He began in November 1990. So he was just telling us he's been here for 30 years now at Goodwill Easter Seals, and he has more than 35 years of experience in a variety of nonprofit and community leadership positions. He has served in national leadership roles for both Goodwill Industries International and Easter Seals. Locally, he has served on local boards of Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, Charities Review Council, and Nonprofit Assistance Fund. And he's participated in the Itasca Project and on the Baldridge, Minnesota Quality Award panel of judges. He's also a professor, so he has gotten accustomed to doing virtual programming and presentations. So at this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Michael Wirth-Davis. Michael. Is Michael here? He was.
Oh no.
We may have lost Michael for a second. Maybe he had an internet connection problem because he has been here. Let's see if he hops on soon.
Chad, I can send him a quick text. This is Melissa. I'll see if I can help you troubleshoot here.
Great, thank you. Yes, like I said, he was just on, so he may have just had an internet connection issue for a second.
Maybe tell us about the last of the series.
Yes, and actually, why don't I turn it over to Dawn to take that part, since she's going to be on the panel and is more of the expert on the subject matter. Dawn.
Sure. So our final group is our final presentation is a panel, and we'll be talking about fiscal sponsorship as a way to kind of help organization, or to help people get off the ground if they've got a new entrepreneurial vision. And so I'll be talking about it from the perspective, the legal perspective, kind of the pros, the cons, the ins and outs of fiscal sponsorship, why you might want to choose it or not. And then on the panel with me, we'll have Joanna Schnedler from the Minnesota Mutual Coalition, and they are working as a fiscal sponsor. And then also Alexi, and he is starting up a new program called Voices in the Back. And so they're a group that is seeking fiscal sponsorship. So we'll be looking at it from all those different angles. Alexi Moon Cassell is the other person.
Right. Well, I see that Michael has emailed me. He's all of a sudden had some internet connection problem, and hopefully that's just going to be a temporary thing since, like I said, he was on a few minutes ago. So while we have just a couple minutes, we've gone over so far in our up to this point, 3 parts. We just had one on how to make your board more inclusive and diverse. We talked about the Minnesota Council Nonprofits survey work that they've done. So we had a better understanding of what issues are facing nonprofits in Minnesota. And we also heard from Glenn Flattabo about events and how to conduct events and reach out to donors during the virtual time that we're in right now. They're all on our YouTube channel. I guess I'm not sure if the one from Tuesday is up yet, but if not, it will be soon. So you can check all of those out along with their other programming that we've been doing lately. But why don't we just open this up, and if anybody has any thoughts that they have on other issues that they want to know about in nonprofit world, maybe somebody wants to open up about questions they have with their own nonprofit and any kind of resources that they're looking for or things that they found helpful. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? Don't all jump at once.
So I was particularly interested in the topic earlier this week, and actually I have to say, just actually shocked at the statistics of the small number of people of color who are on boards. And I just really actually was kind of amazed by that, and thought that that's a place that we as a community can do work in reaching out to our various networks and letting people know about opportunities. So anyway.
Yes, that was a good point, Don. Anybody else, any nonprofits on that want to mention anything or promote something that they're doing right now, any events that they have? We're getting into gala season.
Jed, I thought Glenn Flattabo's talk about connecting with donors during this kind of crazy time, unprecedented time, was really interesting and thought-provoking too. And he, over the past few months, has developed a wealth of knowledge about, what's worked and what hasn't, and that kind of thing. And it really, kind of got me thinking of different ways that Midway Chamber, as well as some other groups that I'm involved in, can continue to, stay connected. And so I would encourage you, if you are looking at doing that, to look at his presentation that is on the YouTube channel. And I know this has come up at a bunch of Midway Chamber meetings since then. The fact that he said that the worst thing that a nonprofit can do is to do nothing. Yes. And to just and to not, try to at least stay connected in some way. So I thought that was really interesting too. So.
Yeah, that was the point that really stuck with me too. So if you're a nonprofit out there and you're concerned about how to reach out to your donors, if you do something annually, maybe you can't do that event the way you normally do, but please make a point to reach out to your donors. It's the end of the year coming up, and a lot of organizations are looking to make that final contribution. So be thinking about that and how you can reach them before the end of the year too. Right. Anyone else want to make any comments? We'll hopefully get Michael back here. Melissa, any word from Michael? She might still be connecting on.
I think she's on mute too.
She is on mute too. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe she's still working with Michael. And well, how about other nonprofits? Anything else that people would like to share?
I think, I don't know, if maybe Terry can share a little bit, but what is the progress, I guess, for people receiving forgiveness for their PPP loans as they're submitted?
Well, I can comment just briefly, Lynn. Good morning, everyone. I know Sunrise just started working on our forgiveness piece, and we did about 1,800 loans during the PPP process. So we're reaching out to clients in waves because we can't just open the floodgates. So I think we've already processed at least 150 forgiveness applications, and I know they let out another round of probably 100 on Monday. So customers or non-customers that we provided PPP to are being sent a link. We had a summit on Tuesday night, and it sounded like our portal, I'm not directly involved with it. The people that have started submitting, once they get the link, has gone really well. And it's been really intuitive as far as the borrowers putting in the information that is needed to apply for that forgiveness. And I know some of the early ones that got submitted, everything turned around fairly quickly, like maybe a full 2-week process. But actually, the bank has up to 30 days once we receive the information from the client. And then I think the SBA, once we submit it to the SBA, they have up to 90 days to actually do the formal forgiveness. So things are moving. So watch your emails, because a link will come out and then it will ask for verification of who's going to be working on the forgiveness part in each organization. So that's about all I've got, Lynn. Hopefully that's a little bit helpful.
We just began work this week, submitted yes. So in progress.
Great. And I see that Michelle is on here too from Riverland, saying that they also have clients that have received forgiveness and the process is going smooth. So thanks to all of our partners in financial institutions. I've been telling people throughout this pandemic that it really shows how important having a good relationship is with a bank or a credit union is right now, because it's been very helpful for so many to better understand the process of what is available to them if they qualify for PPP loans or any other support. And I see a note here from Melissa that Michael is getting connected with IT now. He's working on it. He's hopefully going to get on soon. So that's okay. This gives us a little bit of a chance to just check in with other members here. And Todd Shannon, if I can put you on the spot for a second, you know, Union Gospel Mission is a nonprofit that a lot of people think about this time of year. You just had a big push. You were on WCCO radio. People think about Union Gospel Mission for Thanksgiving time and from basically Thanksgiving through the end of the year. Todd, if you don't mind saying a couple words of how everything went with the drive and anything else with Union Gospel Mission. Can you speak up, Todd? Todd, I think you're trying to say something, but I can't hear you very well. Can you try again? There you are. I can see you. It's not very loud. Oh, okay. In the meantime, Michelle had asked Mary McEwen how the fundraiser went for Keystone. Mary? And Mary also said she
Here I go.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just said so. I was putting something in the chat. So one thing I was going to say is that I read in the paper last week that part of the CARES Act is that people can donate up to $300 and deduct it from their taxes without itemizing. And that's part of the CARES Act, and that's just for 2020. And I wish I could find the link for it, but it was in the Star Trib. But I thought that would be an interesting thing. It's something we're going to share with our donors because, with the tax changes, a lot of people aren't itemizing anymore their charitable donations. And so I think it's a good way to kind of just remind people that this is a time of the year when they can give and they can still itemize and kind of get that tax deduction. So as far as our fundraiser, we launched our acceleration fund on October 1st. It's part of our comprehensive campaign. I would suggest not trying to launch a comprehensive campaign in a pandemic. It was on our to-do list to kind of get this going in March, because there's so much need out there in the community, particularly around food insecurity. And this was all need that was, front and center prior to COVID. And now things have just kind of gone, as we all know, kind of very quickly into a lot of people needing support. And so we started, as part of our campaign, we started an acceleration fund, because what it meant for us is that we just need to accelerate the giving to our organization so we can quickly shift and support all the people in our community that need food and need other resources. Our Meals on Wheels program, our numbers are going up. In Food Shelf, we've supported over 32,000 people since June with our drive-through distributions only. That's not even counting our Food Shelf support and our food mobile and all the other things that we just kind of our everyday food shelf work. So there's a lot of need out there in the community, and what we're really preparing for and what we're asking our community to help us with is really 2021 is going to still be a really tough time for a lot of people. And we want to make sure that people have the resources they need to kind of recover as they kind of figure out how they're going to get employed again or kind of get stabilized in their family situation. So it's going well. We, as Chad mentioned, year end is a big time for most nonprofits with gifts. So we've been very fortunate to have the community be very supportive, and we expect that they'll be similarly supportive in December as they have in the past. So nice to see you all.
Thank you for that, Mary. And we'll send out the link on from the IRS on what that deduction is. And Jeannie, you said you'd also like to comment on the non-itemizer deduction?
I would, because this is actually another area where Minnesota leads the nation, because we have had that available at the state level for many years now, and that was championed by the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that as well, that's an option on your state return as well. And that has nothing to do with the CARES Act. Minnesota has long had that ability to support individuals in, donating and promoting the causes that they care about. So I think that's something unique. And while I have the microphone, Chad, another thing I would just point out, I know not everyone on the call maybe works in a nonprofit, but you might be on the board of a nonprofit. And the three organizations you mentioned in your introduction of Dr. Wirth-Davis, where he has served on a board, are really critical to nonprofits in Minnesota. So he talked about being on the board of the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, the Charities Review Council, and then what was at the time Nonprofits Assistance Fund, which we all know now today as Propel for nonprofits, which was a merger between Nonprofits Assistance Fund on the money and MAP for nonprofits, which did managing and consulting advice. So, as someone who studies the nonprofit sector around the country, this is another area in Minnesota is just so unique to have a whole layer of intermediaries or infrastructure groups that kind of exist just to support the nonprofit sector here and the things that people care about. So I just want to make sure we highlight those resources as well.
Great. Well, thank you, Jeannie. And I know that Melissa said Michael is going to be on shortly. Todd, are you back up and running? Do you want to give it a try? And if it can't work, maybe just put something in chat on how everything went. You there, Todd? Well, while Todd is maybe getting settled, Sabrina, you brought up a good point here in the chat about donors can still do the QCDs. Now you're in a whole bunch of lingo here, Sabrina. RMDs. Oh my goodness. Sabrina, are you there? Can you just comment on this?
Yeah, sure, Chad. I wasn't sure if our speakers would be able to get back online, and I didn't want to jumble things up too much. I really appreciate people pointing out both the $300 deduction as well as, yes, Jeannie, the fact that we can do that at the state level all the time. We're always reminding our members about that. The other thing I want to make sure we get the word out about is many people elected not to do their required minimum distributions or their RMDs this year. However, they may not realize they can still do their qualified charitable deductions. And so I think it's really important for nonprofits to maybe just highlight that. And then also for donors that have the capacity this year, direct giving, so it can't come out of a donor advised fund, it needs to go directly to a charity. That type of giving, there's higher limits. And I just kind of pasted the numbers in the chat. And if you need some additional resources on that, either let myself know or Chad can maybe send out some links as part of the follow-up to this work to today's session.
Thank you, Sabrina. Todd, I want to give you another opportunity here. Are you able to say anything? You're unmuted, but I'm not hearing anything.
I'll chat.
Okay, now I can hear you a little bit.
You know what? I'll put something in the chat. How about that, Chad?
Well, you know, actually, I can hear you pretty well right now. So if you wanted to say a couple
you
words.
can?
Yeah.
I'll just piggyback on what Mary was saying. We've seen an uptick, especially in Thanksgiving food distribution last week. We handed out 6,500 bags and for families of 5, which was just incredible. I think that was couple thousand more than we've done previously, and we're just seeing an uptick in services and being really vigilant as far as our health testing, and we're grateful we just haven't had a real big outbreak here, and we're just continuing to move forward. So as far as the Thanksgiving food drive, the cars were right away on Monday morning. We're lined up from our men's campus about 3 miles past the Capitol. So it was just, it's pretty, to be a part of that was something else.
Great. And also just to remind some of our nonprofits on the call here today are eligible for a new grant from Ramsey County. And there's grants available for nonprofits that work in workforce, that work in food distribution, and with wellness. We did put it in our newsletter that went out yesterday. I would encourage people to take a look at that and see if you might be eligible for it. It's a nice opportunity. They do this in partnership with an organization called SPEDCO, who's a member of ours. So check it out, because everybody, could use a little bit of extra funding right now if it's possible. Melissa, how do things look?
I'm chatting with IT. They were saying he got the dreaded blue screen where the entire screen goes blank. And our IT director was just like, that is really hard to troubleshoot, but he is, because Michael's working remotely. They're just getting his slides loaded right now. So I don't know if you have a chance. I knew you've done such a good job of having conversation. I've learned a lot from just the last 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I want to come to more of these. But I would hope maybe, can we give them another 1 or 2 minutes? It's your call if
Absolutely.
you're okay.
No, this has been a nice opportunity for us. One thing that we've been missing this year with not being able to do this in person is we have those opportunities to have more conversations, whether it's one-on-one or just a little bit more broadly with different members on what's going on right now. So it's been nice that we've been able to catch up with that and remind people about different opportunities for end of the year and grant opportunities. So it's been a good time for us to do that. Does anybody else have anything they want to share about their nonprofit or anything else that nonprofits should be aware of right now? Hey, Lori.
Hey, Chad. This is Lori Gleason from St. Paul Ballet. And I just wanted to let you know that there is kind of an ad hoc group that sprang up when we first got locked down in March of Minnesota cultural institutions. And there are about 40 of us. It's the Guthrie, Walker, all the major museums, children's theater. And we've been meeting regularly and talking about our needs because most of us are in the same boat. We can't have anyone in. We're locked down again now in a second wave here. But we have a letter coming out that's going to be in the Pioneer Press and the Star Tribune, either the end of this week or next week, supporting the governor on all the COVID measures and just saying, even though we are all in dire straits and we really, our incomes are cut drastically and we can't serve people the way we have been, we still support what's going on because people's lives are the most important thing. So I wanted to let you know that heads up, that's coming out from everyone. And we're also trying to figure out how we can best get the message out that we're also out here serving people and our voices might not be quite as loud as some of the other industries, and that we have a lot of workers that have been laid off. And we're trying to keep those artists working. So any ideas are welcome from everyone as well.
Well, and so Lori, you've got St. Paul Ballet, which you're in partnership with Element Boxing, and you've got that great space over there that was renovated, pretty recently. Can you just touch on that building and that partnership a little bit?
Yeah, there's actually about 9 organizations that are arts and health all together in the building. We opened last fall and got shut down in March, and we're shut down again right now. Interestingly enough, all of our industries overlap on this, on which industries are being closed at the moment. So the partnership is really vibrant and everyone's trying to kind of figure out how we support each other at this time. I'll tell you, virtual programming has flown to the top of all of our lists. And we're trying to help each other with how do we get equipment? How do we increase our internet connection? How do we keep everybody's businesses going all at the same time? So while we have this incredible opportunity to serve everybody, we were just at the beginning of getting things going. So hopefully right now, everybody's still there. And I think everyone's really nervous about what's going to hit in January when we've pretty much run out of all of our cash. And so, but that people haven't given up on the vision of what we're doing. And we do have a great space. You just can't be in it right now.
Yes, well, it'll happen again at some point. You'll be able to be in that space again. And I know we've heard from so many of them, of our members, whether they're nonprofits, hospitality, or otherwise, that have been struggling during this time and have been so appreciative of any funding opportunities. And we've been trying as best we can to let other people know about those opportunities, and we'll see what happens with federal packages, if there's any stimulus that comes in the new year. So we are hopeful of that.
Tonight should be back.
Oh, I think Michael is back.
Yes, I am, with my own IT guy on the phone. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. I'm blaming it on IT. I had a blue screen of death, if that means anything to you guys.
Nobody ever wants to see or hear about the blue screen of death. So
well,
I'm sorry it happened to you.
Yeah, but it's revived now. So what would you like me to do, Chad?
Well, I gave this
interrupted your conversation.
No, actually, it was perfect timing. And I gave this great introduction of you, hitting all your highlights of your career, even mentioning how you become a tech wizard, Michael. So
no, I actually. I see this phone? The IT person is on the other end of that phone. Okay, that's the only way that works. Thank you, Melissa. I can see Melissa on my team is helping me out as well. So
well, Michael,
yes.
It actually gave us a nice opportunity to visit with everybody and to find out about different opportunities for nonprofits and to hear from a couple nonprofits too. So it was helpful.
Yeah, hang on, just wait until Chad tells me. my IT guy is saying, do you want to share your video? I mean, your
Yes,
PowerPoint.
go for it.
The answer is yes, go for it.
let's do
Chris.
it. And Michael, at this point, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So we're going to try to share my slides with you. If I go away, just never ask me back. Sorry, chamber folks. Okay. Chris is doing this. So now you're sharing this screen. No, this screen is you guys are seeing a calendar, aren't you?
Nope.
We're seeing your screen. Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Got it. Okay, good. So you're seeing a screen, but I need to get to the
slideshow.
Chris, can you make the slideshow, just the slideshow without the side panel? Yeah. I want to be able to start from beginning, if you will. There you go. Is that what you guys see? Navigating unprecedented times?
Well, we also see your notes, so if you can.
Oh, he sees my notes. Yeah. No, Chad just said he did. I'm sorry, guys. I should be talking to you, and I'm talking to IT. There we go. So this is the unprecedented times. Now, you don't see notes, right?
Well, we see if you want to call it the presenter view, where we can see where it says next slide on it, and it says no notes on the side.
Oh, no, that's the wrong view, Chris.
But I think if you just change the view, you should be good.
If we go to change view, I'm trying to let you drive. Yeah, I see what they're seeing, Chris, on my laptop. I was trying to be very techy. I was telling Chad before I got the screen of death that I have 3 screens going on. Well, they're not cooperating.
And this might be a weird hack, but I'm wondering too, Michael, you could probably email the presentation to one of us who could share a screen.
Oh.
To Chad, maybe, or Melissa. Just a thought.
Yeah, see, what they're seeing though, Chris, is the next slide kind of thing, and they don't need that. Yeah, and Jeannie is saying maybe I should just send it to you, Jeannie, right? Could you do it?
I could try.
All right.
There we go. Hold on. I'm sharing it now.
Maybe we got it.
You guys are so patient. Or you're all gone. I don't know what happened.
Oh, we're doing good.
There we go.
All right.
Perfect. You got it.
Perfect.
Yes. Chris, you're wonderful. Don't go away yet. All right, thank you. It's an interesting presentation. Even IT would like it. All right, thank you guys. Can you advance the slide? Chris, can you be my advancer? All right, so before we do that, thank you for inviting me today. Sorry for all this interruption. It is unprecedented times. We're all not used to having hundreds of people visit our homes every day in something called a Zoom call. So welcome to my home. You can see I'm in my home office. But mission guides what we're doing here. So just so you know that as a nonprofit guy, and I know you're celebrating nonprofit week, and who knows what Chad said about me. So the mission is the guide. All right. So now we can go to the next slide. So who's driving? Chris, there we go. So a little history, and I'll try to make this quick because we are now running against a clock. But if you're not familiar with Goodwill Easter Seals, we were founded in 1919. It's the same year as the Chamber, by the way. We celebrate the same birthday year. And we were founded in St. Paul, so we haven't gone too far. We're in the Midway area now. And then in 1984, we also became an affiliate of Easter Seals. So we're a dual affiliate. We're Goodwill and Easter Seals. We're one of only 4 in the country that are dually affiliated. And in 2002, we moved to the Como area. We moved from the Como area, to the Midway area. Forever, we were a big blue building on 280 in Como, and now we're a big green building right off of University Avenue. All right. And then I just want you to know, Goodwill, if you're not familiar with that, is an international organization founded in Boston in 1902. So it's 118 years old as the parent organization. We were founded in 1919, and that made us the 15th Goodwill on the planet. There are 165 of us now. And Easter Seals was founded in Elyria, Ohio, which is right around Cleveland area. All right, we'll keep moving to the next slide. And what you see as a leader, is that what you guys are seeing with the slides? Okay, so we're going to talk about our services and programs. I'll get to the meat of this thing, but our services and programs, we've been a leader for the last 100 years in services that are addressing eliminating barriers to work and independence. We are definitely a workforce development type of organization. So we are helping people get work, keep work, and advance in their careers. Most common barriers of people that we're working with are low income, people with disabilities, people with criminal histories, and a lack of a high school education. So you get the kind of stereotypic profile. To be very honest, there's a large group of folks we serve, new Americans. We do have youth-oriented programs now, high school and up, that are all around work. Dislocated workers, you've been probably heard a little bit about that. We're a dislocated worker provider. And then people re-entering, of course, society after incarceration, and people living with mental health. So it's a wide group. We don't typically focus on the disability. We talk about what's your barrier. So what is that? And your barrier could be 3 or 4 different things there. This slide will show you visually that more than 60% of the people we serve are BIPOC, the Black, Indigenous, and/or people of color. 84% low income, and 64% have 1 or more disabilities. We'll move on. Continuing with the services and programs, our programs, very quickly, talk about employment training and education programs. These are time-limited, curriculum-based, carrying credit from colleges. We work with about 14, 15 different university settings, colleges that have articulation agreements so that when they finish our program, not only are they ready for work, but they've got credits towards their AA degree. We are licensed as a non-public school as well. So we are focusing on occupational tracks that DEED has determined throughout the state that have growth potential. So auto services, business services, construction, some retail, and then some unique programs. So that's very unique to us. And then some unique programs also are the Father Project, which is for non-custodial dads who have children and need to be responsible for them. These are usually men 15 to 30 years old. So it's young people having kids. And we help them to become responsible dads by doing everything from education, helping them get their education, learning life skills, learning parenting skills, and then also co-parenting with the mom that they probably are not going to be with, and then some joint custody. We are the only program in the state that does what is called work incentives connection, and that is attaching people who with disabilities who are on Social Security come off of Social Security. So we're helping them do a benefits transition planning, and we do that statewide. Those are just unique, and you thought we were just a store. Next slide, if we can move down. So to add to that, we do have retail. That is a business enterprise supporting a social enterprise supporting a social mission, and that's 108 years old nationwide. So we have 45 plus stores and donation centers, outlets, those kinds of things. We also have an e-commerce platform, shopgoodwill.com. So yes, you can buy thrift goods online. And then we have an aftermarket program where we're trying to keep things out of the landfill. So we are selling to an aftermarket that might turn some of the materials into salvage as far as rags, other kinds of things, dashboard filler, whatever that might be. So we're trying to keep it out of the landfill. We want to sell it first and then keep it moving so that it's not harming the environment. If we go on to the next slide. So behind the stores, every time we open a store, there's an employment opportunity. So 40 to 50 jobs every time we open a store. So Goodwill is good for the environment. Not only are you getting products, but it's an employer. We're an employer. And we have to compete in our wages with Targets, Walmarts, all those other kind of places. And the net from those stores get leveraged into funding services. So that's how that works. We need that braided funding from our stores and other sources to pay for the services. And then we love the fact that our customers are actually helping us raise nearly $1 million a year by rounding up. So if you've shopped at Goodwill and it comes to, you know, $1.09, would you like to round that up to the nearest whatever that is? And people say yes. And when that happens, it amounts to some additional dollars for our services. And then we have this donate it, shop, reuse it, re-educate, and then that helps us employ folks. So almost over 50 million pounds now from landfills are diverted every year. And so we have a sustainability effort as well. People ask us if we've ever thought about going green, and we think we've been a shade of green for a long time. And this is just a nice visual that, you know, that 50 million plus would be the equivalent of 40 Airbus aircrafts or 110 statues of liberty, just to give you a visual of what that might look like. Next, we're getting into the meat of the presentation. You'll call me up whenever you want. So 2020 has been a hard year. This visual of things being on fire, people being killed because of a race, and the pandemic. So we've had double pandemics this year, just like everybody else has. So it's been a hard year. And in my career, this has probably been my toughest year as a leader, and our board's toughest year is having to make decisions basically weekly and daily sometimes, rather than 5-year plans and all that other kind of stuff that I can teach about. So COVID, what impact would that? We closed our facilities in advance of the governor's stay-at-home because we knew something was up, and that was a board decision. And so safety was driving that consideration. We wanted to keep our staff, our customers safe. But our stores closed mid-March and didn't open again until June. Now, if you can think of that, one of our main economic engines are the retail stores. So we went almost 12 weeks with zero income. And we are still feeling that impact, and we will for several years, because we had to then go into our reserves and those kinds of things, as many nonprofits did. So we furloughed over 1,900 employees, and 98% of them came back, which was a great testament to the loyalty to the organization. So our non-retail staff were working from home, and our program participants, the people we serve, we pivoted very quickly to remote. So we have the non-retail team really have had an impact. That impact is the culture is intensive one-to-one. And when you have to go to remote, it's a challenge for just their own culture, their social workers, their job placement people, their psychologists, and they're used to being in person with folks. We also realized that our staff and the people we serve weren't always the most technologically savvy or did not have access to technology, particularly our participants. And so we've had to really rally with our partners of, can we change some of the funding that you gave us and actually provide computers and things to our participants, and then also help our case managers become help desk people, because there are challenges with service delivery.
Hey, Michael, there's a question from Lynn Megan asking how you're addressing your looming unemployment costs.
Our looming unemployment costs? We have people, are you talking about for our own staff? Is that the question? I'm sorry.
For all the people that you furloughed. who
Oh,
went
they
on
all came back in
unemployment.
June. They're back, all but 98% of those people came back. Did that answer your question, or?
Well, you'll still have costs from your 2 months, but so for that
Yeah,
many
yeah,
employees.
yeah. And we did get the only federal dollars that we got that we were eligible for, because we had over 500 employees, there was a cutoff, was the employee retention credit. So I'd have to, I don't know, I can get you a sharper answer about the unemployment costs of those 2 months. All right, we'll go. I know I'm pressing a clock, so let's move to the next slide. So that pivoting, we had to be flexible in planning. Our organization, I work closely with the board, and we realized that our annual plan and budget was not going to hold. Our fiscal year is October 1, so we were already into a planning year, budget year, and all that wasn't going to be able to be addressed. So we quickly realized we had to be flexible and nimble. Our board started meeting on a monthly basis. Our team, the senior team, there are 5 people that report directly to me, and we were meeting twice a week in a huddle of just figuring out what the news was, what we needed to do, how we needed to do it, because things were not going to be able to be accomplished. And our just real quick background, we do a scorecard. We have annual goals, and we have a scorecard on a quarterly basis that we use with our board and our staff. And of course, all that stuff just went right out the window. We had to really figure out what we were going to do. We actually then, because we're still in this, when we created our plan that started October 1 of this year, which is our fiscal year 2021, we've asked and received the blessing of the board to do forecasting and to be much more nimble in, depends on the situation, if we have another shutdown, if those kinds of things. So the board has really been amazing with that. We also, the board called in outside consulting, financial planning folks, created a task force because of the lack of revenue for several months, and we needed to get forbearance from some landlords and creditors and those kinds of folks. So the board really stepped that up, as did their senior team. So planning, and then we'll keep going to go fast. Our planning was all around safety and communicating, I know this group has had a speaker in this series about engaging donors in virtual galas and that kind of stuff. Our annual gala went virtual for the first time. And we also started doing monthly calls with donors where they could talk to me and our chief philanthropy officer. Here's where we are, here's what we're doing. We also are very blessed and fortunate to have partnerships with a variety of foundations. And so there were calls with foundations telling them the news and where we were, and we were fortunate to have those partners be flexible with their funds as well during this time. So the impacts on the people that we serve, lots of changing life circumstances. We have people who couldn't get to us because they didn't have the technology. Suddenly they were home with childcare and needing access to basic needs. We had quite a few staff that live in that Lake Street area. On Lake Street, we had our Father Project. That building was directly across, across from the precinct that burned down. And so that building was on fire, it's still uninhabitable. So that program needed to find additional space and have been kind of nomads running around trying to find space to serve folks and serve folks remotely. And then our store on University Avenue was looted twice and then set on fire. So about close to $2 million worth of damage to get that back to where it was. So we felt it closely. And then on a personal level, I have a son and daughter-in-law who live at 28th and Lake. And so they were right in the middle of the fires and the whatever. So it was tense. very tense for our staff live in that area, service folks from that area, and having trouble, their children, their own staff children having trouble breathing because of the smoke and the noise and all whatever was going on. So we lived it. And I live in Roseville, and we had Black Hawk helicopters over my house. So I don't know, you all had this exposure and experience. Well, it was drama for us. The digital divide, I just can't stress that too much, the impact of that, both on our staff and the people we serve. And we're still working on that. Our philanthropy team, our board, we have our own foundation. The board also had to approve, and this slide is the store and office safety signage. I know you all had to do that, but because we're a public place and we have people walking in and out of the stores, we spent over $1 million. At the same time, we didn't have revenue to start buying all this material and equipment to make our stores COVID ready with all the signage. We do have wellness checks, still do. We're all working remotely. When you walk into our stores, you must have a mask. If you walk into any of our sites, you must do a wellness check. The board approved, we wrote, and the board approved our COVID plans that had to go to OSHA and to the Department of Labor. And so the board's been busy during this time, and these were not anything we ever had in our mind about needing to plan for. But we had to have those protocols in place. Next slide, please. If we can advance it. So let's go to the racial disparities real quickly and actions towards change. Of course, we were in the spotlight after the George Floyd killing. And 7 months later, we're still actively speaking up. We did we talked to our internal audience and our external audiences. If we could go forward. Our board adapted an equity statement to reflect our reactions to the civil unrest, and that became part of our source documents, if you will. We have vision, mission, values, workplace culture, and equity statement that are all part of a package of who we are, part of who we are. We send to our funders, we address issues around that. And that was underway before the unrest and just quickly got done. Our director of marketing and communication is at this call, so this is a lot of her work, giving her credit. But we work together with communications basically weekly, internal and external, on our website, in social media, of what we're doing as a group. On this slide, the left side with the sunset or morning rise of the skyline is an attempt to have our partners. We worked with nonprofit partners to have a joint statement saying we are denouncing systemic racism and those kinds of things. Our board had a quick discussion and quickly realized that lack of diversity, lack of inclusion, and lack of equity is a barrier to employment. So it fit right into our mission. It wasn't this add-on. It just became much more critical and became underscored. And then we had communications with our staff, and we still do discussion groups so that there's a safe place and we can give each other a little grace around what we're struggling with around all these things. We have a DEI council, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, and we've had that going on for several years now. And so that council was, what are other people doing in this space? What do our staff need? What do we think we're doing? And then externally, who can we do things with? We find that we can address diversity, equity, and inclusion with other people better than we could ever do anything on our own. So we're still working on this space, and we've still had some flare-ups of unrest and that around some of our community locations. Next slide. I'll try to finish this up. So our path forward. We're not afraid to say, we don't know. Chad asked me when I was going to figure out when the vaccine was available to everyone and when the end of systemic racism was going to happen. And I said, I'll get right on that. The board's asked me the same thing. No, but it's okay to say we don't know. We don't have any magic information source that other people don't. We are blessed that we're part of 2 national organizations, so we get to hear things that are going across the country or coming from Canada. What are other people doing? But we really don't know, and it's okay to even talk to our donors and our staff saying, it's okay, we're in a gray area, we're still trying to figure it out. This is what we know today, this week, or this month. This is how we're doing. We know that some takeaways here and path forward is a changing workplace. And I'll just detail this. So we don't know, we know our workplace is changing. We were working on that before any of this hit, of how could we be remote? How could we have flexible work-life balance for folks? Partnerships are critical. We have over 100 partners to make our services work and other areas. And our communications, absolutely critical. We learned that very quickly, that people want to hear from you even if you don't have an answer, just knowing that you're checking in and doing those things. And then our DEI work is never complete. It's a journey, and we're learning a lot from our staff, frontline folks, people we serve, and from our partners. Okay. There is no time for questions. We need to close. No, whatever. Chad, I'm going to turn it back to you, but if there are questions, if there are comments, and then I'll just leave this, we'll leave this slide up. This is how you can get to us for any information. You can send us a question, but that's our website and our Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of thing for you. So,
Well,
any
thank you,
questions,
Michael.
comments? Yep.
Thank you. So we are really close to 9 o'clock, but I do want to have people have the opportunity for questions. So if people can stand for a couple minutes, that's great. Ask them in the chat, or feel free to just pipe in and ask them if you have them. So Michael, you talked a little bit about, working with your board during this time.
Yes.
So as I think about the timeline, I think every nonprofit had to deal with a very nervous board in March and April, and maybe going forward, maybe they felt a little more at ease if they felt there was at least planning in place for the uncertainties that are happening. Now we're in December, we're getting into the next calendar year. For a lot of organizations, they start their new budget January 1, so they just had a lot of really hard questions and decisions to make on planning a budget for this uncertain time. What's your assessment been of how nonprofits are feeling right now going into this new year and their planning?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chad. I can't speak for all nonprofits, but I'm very fortunate to be in several professional peer groups, both here in Minnesota and then on a national level. Everybody's still uncertain. We've got stuff that's still going on. We've got COVID raging across the country, across the world. So that's impacting things. There's an economic impact where people have lost jobs. Jobs may not come back. So that whole thing of the disparities in unemployment, because some of those were frontline, hospitality, whatever those are, and those people are disproportionately being affected. And then we've got the issue of we don't know what tomorrow is or what the next week is. And even with a vaccine, folks, for COVID, none of us have lived through a pandemic before. So it's uncharted territory. We don't know. And we have information coming at us every day, every week. We're tuned into the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease, and then we hear the governor, and then we hear national from our 2 national organizations. And so sometimes it's confusing. So I think the planning is based on uncertainty, and you still have to plan. You still have to put foot forward. You still have to open the door, in essence, for services every day with a lot of uncertainty. So leaders, CEOs, senior staff, board members, whoever is a leader, we're having to learn to continue to deal with that uncertainty. If you're 75 to 80% sure of something, go with it. You can't get to 100%. And And then also know that you need to be extremely flexible. What you thought was a direction may need to veer off course. And so all the more reason to be communicating. We were doing quarterly board meetings, quarterly reviews. Now we're basically, it's every other week, and a lot of forecasting. Those of you that have financial backgrounds and things, forecasting is now instead of here's your budget, here's the goal, did you make it or not? It is, here's the forecast, how close are we, what's the reforecast, those kinds of things. So it's a little different in the task of planning. The essence of planning is still needing to be there. And then I believe in abundance, not scarcity. So I'm always trying to come back to what else can we do? How can we do it? Where does that fit into the plan? So I think people are just, one foot in front of the other, knowing that we have an obligation to our mission and the people we serve, and that we're stewards of people's trust and dollars. And so what do we need to do? And it's really about every 2 weeks is about as far out as you can look. You can think further, but what you see is pretty shallow.
Yeah, I think monitoring cash flow every month is
Absolutely
even more important. And, when you talk about this flexibility and how nobody has lived through this before, that just shows the importance, I think, of the input you can get from board members
Absolutely.
or staff or anybody, because we're hearing about opportunities in all different angles. We're hearing about new ways of conducting business. People are coming out. I can speak on my personal behalf, the Midway Chamber Board. I hear from board members so often ideas that we've never thought about before that are helpful.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I really look to ask nonprofits to make sure that you're looking at your board and hearing from them about good ideas.
Yeah, listen to your board, listen to your partners, don't be afraid to borrow their ideas, the promising practices that are out there, use those. But yeah, you're right. We're very fortunate. We have a operation board, and then we have our own foundation board, and they're from different walks of life and different business. So it helps me to know what Target's doing, or Best Buy, or the independent, social entrepreneur that's on our board, or what legal folks are dealing with. Absolutely, it's stuff that we wouldn't have thought about. Good time to use their heads, to help you think through a process.
That's right. Well, I know we're a few minutes late, but are there any other questions? Does anybody have questions or comments?
Don't comment about technology, because I'm blaming that on Chris McCarthy.
I think he's the person that helped you out, actually.
He is the person who helped me out. I think he's still there.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. Thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for your patience, folks. I hope the conversation was worth spending your morning on. So.
Great. And this is recorded, so you'll be able to see it again. We're going to be back next Tuesday to hear from our Minnesota Budget Commissioner, Jim Showalter. Perfect timing, as the forecast just came out or 2 days ago on Tuesday, saying we have a $641 million surplus for this year before we look at deficit again after that. We'll be joined on Thursday next week with the new Planning and Economic Development Director from the City of St. Paul, Nicole Goodman. So I hope you can join us for that. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.
Thank you.